Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Rita Astuti. In my video here, I will read chapter 13 about equality in Islam, in which this video is part of reading text in Islam. Islam considers all human beings as equal. There is no difference between them because of their race, color, or tongue. All of them belong to one family and come from one origin. This was not the case before Islam came to the Arabian Peninsula. Before Islam, each tribe considered its members to be superior to those of other tribes, and this made life very difficult between them. They could not deal with each other properly, and they led a difficult life. There was severe fighting almost continuously between the tribes of Arabia because of their attitudes toward one another. May was right, so the weak had practically no right. When Islam came, it was a long step towards correcting the attitudes of the Arab people and making them aware of their brotherhood with each other. The poorer people and the humbler tribes were quick to follow the Prophet because they saw in Islam a hope of leading a good life. For in Islam they heard something they had never heard before. The voice they heard gave them hope the people could live as equal human beings. But at the same time, their accepting Islam was a reason for the leader of the tribes to object to the call of the Prophet, because it was hard for them to consider these weaker people as their brother. The Prophet himself emphasized this by his action and his behavior, by treating all human beings as equal, even his life. There is an interesting story about this. It is related that the Prophet's wife Khadijah had a slave called Zaid, whom she gave to the Prophet to help him with his personal affairs. The Prophet treated him as his son, and the youth never left he was a slave. According to the law of Arabia before Islam, when war broke out between two tribes, the winner could take the women and children of the divided tribes as slaves. Zaid had become a slave on one of these occasions, and he moved from one hand to another until finally he reached the hand of the Prophet. His father and uncle were looking for him everywhere. At last they discovered that he was in Mecca with the Prophet Muhammad, and they went to Mecca and asked the Prophet to return Zaid to them. They offered the Prophet whatever he wants as exchange for the boy. When the Prophet heard this, he called Zaid to him and said, "This is your father, and this is your uncle." Zaid recognized them and said he knew where they were. The Prophet said, "If you want to go with them, you are free to go, and if you want to stay, you are welcome to stay." The Prophet left the choice with the boy, and what Zaid answered astonished his father and his uncle. Zaid refused to go with them and said to the Prophet, "I will never prefer union to you and to even my father." His father and uncle were surprised and annoyed and said, "What are you saying, Zaid? Do you prefer slavery to freedom?" "No," said Zaid, "but there is no one who could treat me like the Prophet treats me." When the Prophet saw that he wanted to please the father and uncle of Zaid, and he went out in public and announced that Zaid was not his slave, but his son, this saw as the new system the Prophet introduced among Arabic people, with equality for each man, no matter what his tribe or color. Thank you for watching. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.